let's take a look at some prototype and misprinted Bionicle masks. We're gonna see a few different like wacky and strange out there old prototype masks, and a few interesting recolored ones as well that never appeared in sets. So it's gonna be a bit of an interesting look at Bionicle and LEGO history, so let's dive in. Let's start off with a really cool dark blue Konohi Miru. Now, not only does this mask not exist in dark blue, this one's interesting because it has some white marbled on the top of the mask. How beautiful is that? And we've got another image here. Unfortunately, this is a pretty low resolution image, but you can still see that this is a black Miru with orange marbled at the top of the mask. So two different examples here in different colors, but the results are just stunning. DVidy uses this mask on an older mock called Commander Stropes. I mean, you kind of have to build a white and dark blue mock if you're going to use this mask, right? And what a good mock this is. I think it blends system and Bionicle pieces so well. And I love the inclusion of some of these printed dark blue tiles that have those white triangles printed on them. These come from an older Star Wars Separatist Tri-Fighter set. So yeah, using pieces that share the exact same white and dark blue coloration, well, that's the perfect thing to do, isn't it? Yeah, I really like this mock, although one of the best parts about it is this weapon. I totally forgot to mention this sick trans light blue version of Gresh's blade. And seeing it on this mock, it perfectly complements it. It looks like some kind of sick electrical blade or some sort of futuristic weapon. Yeah, seeing Gresh's blade, which originally looked like this, but instead in a trans light blue color, oh, that's the stuff of dreams. That's so cool. Now let's look at this mask. So this is an unused Bionicle mask that was never made and never included in any sets. But isn't it cool? You may notice in this image here how big this mask actually is when you compare it to the person that's holding it. Well, a lot of new LEGO pieces, when they're made at a much larger scale first. Yeah, that way it's a lot easier for the part designers to really visualize it and play with concepts, make refinements, all that sort of stuff. In some of these images here, you can see similar stuff happening. This was something that was on showcase at LEGO House in Denmark, and as you can see here, there's some behind the scenes stuff of different parts and pieces from the Disney collectible minifigure range. And you can see some of these like blown up versions of these pieces. And of course, this was made in the prototype stages while they were making these pieces. So yeah, that explains why this mask is so big. But it is a real shame that this never existed. I mean, look at it. All those pipes, the little searchlight on the top of the mask. This would be ideal for a Toa of Earth that spends a lot of time mining and looking for minerals, or any kind of like construction-related Bionicle worker with a bit more of an industrial look to them. Gigamesh Mox has a mock that pretty much fits that description, and this is Toa Brasher, Titan Toa of Earth. Yeah, a mock like this with different mining equipment, caution labels, a dulled down color scheme. I think it would fit this mask perfectly. So hey, if you've got a 3D printer and you want to make something a little bit similar to the mask here, put it on a body that looks very similar to this mock. I mean, if you don't though, why not just use Liwa's mask, put some chains underneath it so it looks like a beard? That's actually a great design. Still, I think this mask would be a perfect pair for a body like this. So here's another unused prototype mask, and it is a little strange to see a mask that looks so humanoid. Yeah, there's a nose, there's kind of an area for the mouth, and sure, you have similar design elements on other Bionicle masks that do look a little bit more humanoid. The Toa Mata masks had noticeable areas for the mouth, and Liwa's mask does have some curves around the nose that kind of makes it look a little bit like a nose. But I don't know, this mask here, it's really mimicking a human face. The original masks, they didn't really do that as much. They took on a life of their own, they took on a world of their own. This just looks a little bit too humanoid. And I think as a result, it starts to not really feel all that Bionicle. So maybe that's why this was scrapped. It just stood out from all of the other masks a little bit too much, stylistically. But one cool thing about this mask, it does have a nice old classic LEGO flair to it. So here's a mock by Stub the Bionicle Man, and it's called Toa Paru. So this is using a fairly different mask, but it does look incredible. Still, I feel like if you swapped this mask with the body on this mock, it would complement it perfectly. The thinner limbs, the use of a lot of older Technic and Bionicle pieces, that fits this kind of classic LEGO look that this mask has. So hey, yeah, this is another mask that if you have access to a 3D printer, why not make something similar to it, build a body design like this, and put that mask on it. Now we've got Biddle's mask, but this one has a lot more black all through it. The original one had a nice balance between yellow and black, not so much on this prototype version. But it does make it look a lot more sinister and a lot more evil. Here's a mock that's built by Doom District, and this is called Makuta Apex. The colors of this mask would so seamlessly complement the colors of this mock. It could also make it look like Biddle has been infected by some sort of inky black sludge, and it's corrupting them and making them really evil. Yeah, like the symbiote from Marvel, for example. And actually, here's a mock by Tony A that does that whole infected look very well. Using a lot of these lime tentacle pieces is a great way to accomplish that, so why not build a normal Biddle mock and use some black tentacles, and you could achieve something fairly similar, whether you have this mask or not. Now here's a sweet image that showcases 3 incredible masks. On the left, we have Akar's mask. It's meant to be red, but in this case, it's silver. That sure is pretty. I love that mask. Next to it, we have another silver mask. This is Liwa Mystica's mask. Of course, it's meant to be lime in the official set. And then the spikes coming out the back, those are supposed to be trans blue. But as we can see here, they're trans clear instead. And then next to this mask, we have a dark blue Matatu. So this is Nuju's mask. It came in a few different colors, but never in dark blue. Well, never officially in dark blue. So let's check out a few different mocks that use these masks. The first one is by DVidy and it's called Glotorian Mark Surge. I mean, this is just a simple swap of Surge's mask for this helmet, but it works. There's silver on Mark Surge, there's silver in this mask, it complements things. And seeing this, it makes me think, what if you could build a silver version of a car? You could probably, for the most part, do it. And if not, use that mask and build yourself your own custom Glotorian character. Put a bunch of other silver armor on them. I'm sure they're gonna look glorious. That'd be sick. DVidy also uses this mask on a Liwa Fantoka revamp. And this is very clever. So it's taking the original lime and dark bluish grey color scheme that we see on Liwa Fantoka, and then DVidy has looked at Liwa Nuva and taken the silver armor and merged the two together. Doing that makes this mask feel right at home. It's simply wonderful. And finally, that dark blue mask. So DVidy uses this on a mock called Nakaya. And I tell you what, man, sand green and dark blue, it really is a perfect pairing of colors. It's always a pleasure to see rare masks like this being given a really nice home. This mock is so elegant, this mock is so well built, and this mask is the perfect finishing touch. Matt Goldberg also uses this mask on one of his Toa Rahaga mocks. And I like that, using a rare mask like this to bring to life a canon character, I think that's smart. Because I feel like if LEGO had made a Toa version of either of these characters, they very well probably would have just given them a recolored mask that already existed. So yeah, it just feels really appropriate. And building mocks so that they kind of resemble sets or qualities of sets, that's always a fun thing to do, and Matt kind of nailed that here. The simplicity of these builds is quite breathtaking. We also have some images here of very early Bionicle masks, and this is where the masks had the numbers on the front. I am glad that they removed this. It stands out a little bit too much, and it detracts too much from their handsome faces. Still, it is interesting to see what could have been. And it is also interesting to see some recolors of this Ruru mask here. This never came in yellow. And hey, it's a double whammy. It's appearing in a color that never appeared in any official sets, and it has the number on the front. That's pretty cool. Now, looking at some of these Toa Mata masks with the numbers on the front, it made me think of one way that you could use these if you happen to have some in your collection. Here's a Liwa revamp that was built by Librarian Bot. It's beautiful. The way it blends CCBS and Bionicle pieces, stunning. But if you had one of these variants of these masks, maybe you could build 2 identical versions of Liwa. But one of these 2 copies would have this prototype mask. Maybe it could be a cool, like, evil clone of Liwa. But the only way to identify the clone is the fact that it would have the number on the mask. That could be really cool, and it could lead to all sorts of fun stories, and it'd be really fun to play with. Well, that's certainly one idea anyway. Now, the final mask we're going to be showing off today, this is Gully Mystica's mask, but it's in silver. So in the official set, of course, it was dark blue. A silver recolor is honestly amazing. Loaf Builds has built a Gully mock that uses quite a lot of silver in the color scheme. So honestly, it would be a really good idea to just double down on that and make this mock entirely silver, or just have little subtle highlights of blue, but keep the mask silver. That could be really cool. Although, funnily enough, Loaf Builds has actually made a Gully mock that uses this mask. I couldn't find any images of it, but here's how it looked while it was on display at Brick Fair. The body design is a little bit different to the mock that I showed you before, but both versions look wonderful. I think Ari really nailed the balance between dark blue and silver on both different versions. And it's nice to see the mask complementing that. So there you go, that's a look at a few different unique, rare, and prototype, or even some miscolored Bionicle masks. Hopefully you enjoyed taking a look back at Bionicle history and seeing what could have been with some prototype masks. If you enjoyed this video, there's a bunch more prototype masks out there that I can still talk about, so I'm happy to do more if there's interest. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Be sure to check the links in the description below and see more from the builders that I've talked about today. Otherwise, happy building, and bye for now.